Hey y'all, and welcome to episode 1 of BandChat, where we talk about being an independent band and everything that comes with it. I'm today's host. I'm Mike or Michael. Either is fine. I'm going to introduce the rest of the guys. So we have Austin.
Sup?
We have Brayson.
Sup?
And we have Miles.
Hey guys, I'm not going to do sup, but I'll still do the peace sign.
I like
Hello.
it. Thank you. And for those of you listening and not watching, everyone did a peace sign. So we're gonna go into history today. We figured that the first episode is the perfect place to introduce ourselves, both as people and as a band. Probably more so as a band because that's what you're all here for. So we're gonna talk about the way back history. And we're going to bring you all the way up to present day. But before we get started, we're going to do a little icebreaker. It's like a giant 4-person date. So here's our icebreaker. What is the first song you learned on your instrument? So name your instrument and the song. Miles, why don't you go first?
Okay, sure. So the first song I learned on the drums was Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day.
Nice.
That was the one. Yes, it was
That was
instant
not my
classic. It wasn't your one. I thought it was going to be your one. Why don't you go next? I'm really curious to hear your one.
Yeah.
Miles and I, we kind of started our instruments together. Miles started first. But
Hey, we're going to get into
play...
that.
Yeah. But what I just preface for this bit, we used to play songs like nonstop over and over and over again all day. So we were guessing if we had the same first song that we started with. Mine was not Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Mine was actually Welcome to the Black Parade.
On bass, right?
On bass, yes.
I knew
Beautiful.
Did you do like the intro keyboard part on bass?
On
Blaze?
No,
Did you do it on Blaze too?
No. I mean, I could if you want me to. But
We'll get there. Austin?
I guess it depends because I cover both keyboards and guitar in the band. So in terms of guitar, the first song I ever learned was Tell Me Baby by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That goes back to when I first learned guitar in our beginner guitar class in grade 6 in middle school. So that was my first song on guitar. The second song I guess, or the first song I learned on keys or piano was Astronomers by We're the City, actually, because it was the song that got me into actually learning how to play piano. Yeah, it was
Crocodile Rock.
Oh no. Okay. That's a whole other chapter. We'll get into that later. The thing is, I used to think I was a keyboard player when I was like 6, but I never actually knew how to play keys. But I had a keyboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're halfway there.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Bon Jovi, be proud.
excellent. And my first song, other than like all your classic, like Ode to Joys and Claire de la Lune and stuff.
Yeah, give us real music.
Real music? I don't even know if this is real music, but my first song was TNT by AC/DC.
Ooh.
Hey man, I love AC/DC.
Yeah, a
That's a
nice
good
little
one.
3/4. That's a rock song.
That is
yeah.
a rock song.
On my little like nylon string acoustic guitar. So
They are, in my
rock and
opinion,
roll.
the epitome of rock and roll.
AC/DC,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
the furthest band from us.
That and Led Zeppelin too. I would say those two
Yeah, that's true.
are the epitome of rock and roll. If you disagree with us, let us know. We would love
Leave
to
a
us
hear.
comment below.
What
if
do
you
we
disagree with us, you're wrong. But let us know anyway.
know? What do we know? We're an indie band,
That's true. A pop band at that. So
a pop
Yeah.
band. But how did we get here? How did we become a pop band? Let's get right into it. I'm hosting this episode because I was not in the band in the beginning, and we'll talk about how I slowly ended up in the band. Not necessarily as my decision, but you know, for the beginning of the Royal Oak story, we're gonna go way back. We're gonna take you
Ooh.
back to before I was born. Not quite, but we're gonna take you back. So you guys actually met in T-ball, is that right?
yes. I
Yes.
actually can't remember if we were all on the same team. We must have all been on the same team because
We must
Austin
have at some point.
Austin's a year older than us, so I don't know how the age groups worked out.
It
So
was- it used to be in sports. You would get like this age and this age, and they would go together, and then the
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
would be that.
Mhm.
It wasn't like one age.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I think how I feel like I remember it a little bit different. What I remember is I think you guys met in T-ball, but I think what happened is I met Brayson first through proximity because my younger brother and Brayson's younger brother were friends, I think, before me and Brayson were.
In
And
the
that's how
T-ball.
I met Brayson. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then I'm pretty sure I met you from like through Brayson from there. And then, this whole beautiful cornucopia of friendship formed from there.
Sorry, you being me, right?
Yes, Miles. Sorry, I will
Yes.
refer to. Okay, for everyone's context, whenever I say you, I officially only mean Miles. This is canon.
That's going to cause a lot of confusion.
But yeah, so that's where it all kind of started. But there was no music involved at all. Like that was before we even entered school. Like we were literally. I mean, at least
4.
I guess if me and Brayson were the ones on the T-ball team, we were like 4 or 5 years old, like just
Yeah.
before getting into kindergarten. So that was our first exposure to each other. Like I don't even think we were friends going into kindergarten because you were in the
No.
afternoon class. I was in the morning
Good old
class.
half days.
Yeah, so good
Miss
old
those.
half days. Remember those? So we didn't become friends.
Grade
I
one,
want to
Miss
say
Goody.
exactly Miss Goody, grade 1.
Nice. That's a great name.
Yeah.
But Miles, you said that there was no music back then, but I remember you guys telling me a story that there was music because Austin wasn't very into baseball at the beginning, but he was very into singing in the outfield. Is that right?
Right. So I must have
Damn
got
straight.
this from another person though, because I feel like Austin's memory is correct in that me and Brayson were on a T-ball team, and then he met Brayson afterwards.
Mhm.
But you two kept playing baseball after I had quit.
Yeah.
I
So
still
you-
play baseball.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you still play slow pitch,
Not
right?
T-ball.
Well, not
Not-
yeah, not T-ball, and also not this year because the world fell apart. But
Yes.
otherwise, I normally do.
Yes, but
Yeah.
so where you're what the story you're thinking of, Mike, is I just know that actually I think I went to watch one of your games because I know my dad was friends with, of course, Wayne and Carrie, like Brayson and Austin's dad, and so I think I was watching one game and Austin is just out in the outfield, just like having a time, like just like singing and like jumping and just like picking up grass and chucking it.
Yeah, classic.
And
It's
it
like
was
glitter.
like, and it's interesting. Like I have a vivid memory of that. So I must
Like
have
Sun Valley Park, right?
Oh, yeah.
exactly. That's exactly what it was. So we
Yeah.
must have been in the area, like watching your game or something. But that's the story you're thinking of, Mike. So there was music early on.
There
I
was
guess.
music, but it wasn't like official. You guys didn't start learning your instruments until what? Like,
I
How old
was
were you, Miles?
I was 8. I think I was the first one, right, to learn
Yes,
an
you were the
instrument.
first
Yeah.
one,
yeah.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 8 years old when I first started to learn, and me and Brayson were in the same. I think we were in the same class when we started to play music as well, grade 3 pre-shaw,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we were in the same class, and I had started playing drums down at Lindsay Music Studio. I remember the first time I got exposed to drumming was a talent show at our elementary school. I can't remember what his name was, but it was like a grade 5 band, and I was like in grade 2 or grade 3, and I was like, whoa, I want to do that. I want that to be me.
and
And then of
being
course I
inspired by 10-year-olds.
exactly. And then of course I go home and then go to my parents and be like, "Hey, guess what?"
I want the loudest instrument ever.
Exactly. So that's how that kind of started. And then they were really supportive, and it started taking lessons. As these guys can attest to, I'm sure Brayson can speak to this. I had my bunk bed ledge as like a hi-hat, and I had like a practice snare drum. And then I used to play hockey and stuff, so I would use my medals, like usually participation medals. We're Poco hockey teams, not that great. Port Coquitlam, for those of you, it's a suburb of Vancouver. But anyways, teams were never that great. So usually participation medals, and those would be my cymbals. So I'd have the hi-hat, the snare, and the cymbal. And then that's how I kind of started. I ended up getting a kit. And then Brayson, why don't you tell us about how you got started? Because that's kind of how I got started.
I was just singing. That's it. I didn't even play bass yet.
That's right.
Yeah.
The stinky feet era.
Yeah, we had a
So hold on. So what is the stinky feet era?
okay, so we had another friend. We still have him. He didn't go down. And he was learning guitar,
Mhm.
and we were playing some Green Day songs, and it was just Miles on drums, him on guitar, and me singing. And we played, what was it, Brain Stew, and then
Classic.
Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Yes, Brain Stew, Boulevard Broken Dreams, and then Richard was his name. Richard did the grand finale, that like guitar
Oh,
intro,
yeah.
that guitar piece that you learn in like a book.
Like
It was
bluesy.
it was literally just going through what, like da-na-na, an A minor pentatonic.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And we recorded
No,
that
it's an
at
E.
Lindsay
It was an E
Music.
minor.
Oh, same thing.
I don't know.
So you recorded as Stinky Feet?
Yeah, what was it? No, our band name was Generate.
Yeah, the album was called
Generate.
Stinky Feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
do you remember the album cover, Brayson?
Yeah, it was our feet.
Yeah.
Ooh,
It was
okay.
literally. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I think once we generate some fans
Oh.
of this podcast, we're gonna have to dig that out. They're gonna want to see the feet pics for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We can,
Show
we can figure
feet.
that out.
Yeah, we definitely have to find. I remember because my dad was huge into photography. Still is.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me.
Feet.
No, he's not into feet. Not into feet. But I think that was definitely our idea. Like that was our idea. And I remember we put our feet in like it was like 1, 2, 3. Like our feet were like on the grass.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
At your whole place.
Yeah, and then
Classic.
it was like word art. It was like the wavy word art.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It was
That was
like peak. It was like peak, like Microsoft Word 98. No.
Yeah, that was
2001. It was 2001.
Okay,
Yeah, that
we gotta
was-
find that and post it somewhere.
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And then Brayson, then you ended up playing the bass, didn't you?
Yeah. So Miles, you were like, "Hey, you should play the bass." I was like, "I don't know what that is, but sure." So I went home to my parents. I was like, "Hey, I want to get a bass," and they were essentially like, "Okay," and got me a bass. And then we learned some pop punk songs, like "Welcome to the Black Parade" and
Mhm.
these Green Day songs and Yellow Card and stuff like that. And Miles and I would just be locked up playing those songs over and over and over again at his house. And I'm so sorry to your parents for putting them through that.
They liked it apparently. I mean, they just liked that we were having fun, I think.
That's true.
I think that's one of those things where it's like, you know, when you're an adult and you talk to your parents and you're like, so like, how was that? And they're like, oh, it was terrible, but we just like told you we
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah.
That's a good point actually.
I can't imagine. Well, hey, I mean, y'all are pretty talented, but I can't imagine it was like 10 out of 10.
Well, I mean, the thing is like a lot of it was just blasting my stereo system loud enough so that we could play along to it. So
Yes.
like there was also that aspect to it as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Those were the days. We're a garage band at heart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so that was like the very beginning, the early days, the very first band. And then Austin, you sort of came into the musical picture in middle school. Yeah?
Yeah. Basically how I remember it happening was before I even learned guitar, because that was my first instrument. I sang. I started out as a singer, just like Brayson. And so how I remember it is before I actually started learning guitar, I would still go over to Miles's house, and I would bring over my crappy little Casio keyboard, and we'd still play. I had no idea what I was doing, like whatsoever. And then eventually it got to the point where my younger brother Mitchell and Brayson's younger brother Jeff would bring over their mini hockey sticks, and we formed a band.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember how that went. Yeah, like I played the dumb little Casio keyboard that had like the pre-sequenced songs, which is the Crocodile Rock Brayson was referencing earlier. And yeah, then Miles would play his snare drum and medals, Brayson would play his bass, and then our brothers would play the mini hockey sticks.
What does that entail? Like,
I think
just
they
like
just
hitting them
Literally
together?
holding it like an air guitar and going.
Oh, I see.
It was
Yeah.
Nice.
it was pretty terrible. I'm surprised our parents didn't disown us on the spot, but
It was cute.
It was
Did that
cute.
band?
It was
Did
very
that
cute.
band have a name?
Oh, that was Jam with a silent B.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
Like
it.
at the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jam. J-A-M. There's 2 M's. J-A-M-M-B. Jeff
Oh, all
Austin.
your initials.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Jeff Austin Miles, Mitchell, Brayson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. At least you had names that could work out into like sort of a word.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sort of a word, like 2 M's and a silent B.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have put that B anywhere.
Could have
though.
been worse.
It's exactly. It's
True.
a silent B. It could go anywhere.
Be
It
Japan.
could travel the world.
Could have been like BM, like a Bjork
Oh, like a
rip off.
J sounds like a Y type deal.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't know anything about that shit back then.
Yeah.
But now we do.
Do.
Segues are weird. So Austin, you started playing with him in middle school.
Yeah.
Because Minicata Middle, where you three went to school,
Yeah.
had like a music program that was like rock oriented, essentially, right?
Yeah, essentially.
Yes.
So basically where I started was not in rock school, it was actually we had basically what was called like explorations, which were essentially electives in middle
Mhm.
school. So we got to do like tech ed, home ec, like music and something else, I think like computer sciences, I think.
Yeah.
And so I first learned guitar in grade 6 in our music explorations. Shout out to Mr. Erickson, who
Mhm.
set me on this journey. I definitely 100% would not be here without him. So that's where I first learned. And then I didn't actually, pardon me, I didn't actually join the rock school program there, which it was called Must Rock, short for Mustang Rock, which is our what's the word I'm looking for?
Mascot.
The school mascot. Thank you. Yeah, we were the Minicata Mustangs. Rah rah. And so I didn't actually join the rock school program until grade 8, which our middle school was grade 6 to 8. So I didn't join it until the last year. But that's when I actually realistically started playing with Brayson and Miles in some capacity.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the true foundation of what is now Royal Oak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it took some time to become Royal Oak.
It did take some time, I would say. I mean, me and Brayson have been playing together since we were 8. Like we haven't there were times where I think there was one time where we kind of fell off as friends a little bit, at the end of middle school. But even then we still had we were still always playing music. I just remember there was one area where we didn't hang out as much, but we were still playing music, I think, all through middle school, because middle school we had the program, and then obviously we're going to go, well, not obvious to the listener, but we are going to go into our high school version of that rock school program, and then we played through that as well. But yeah, we've just been, Royal Oak's been, it's been a thing for a while, and then when Austin came in, it just started to elevate it, but it wasn't called Royal Oak, though.
No.
No.
I have a note about chronic amity. What is chronic amity?
Brayson,
That's a good segue.
Brayson, go ahead.
That was okay, so
He's struggling.
my on and off girlfriend at the time sang.
Oh,
And
can anyone else
We
hear
can't hear him
Brayson?
at all. No.
oh no.
Oh, there you
Oh,
are.
you are.
Okay.
There you are.
Moment of silence.
Let me just adjust my mic.
Moment of
Yeah.
silence for chronic amity.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So my on and off girlfriend at the time sang, and I was like, "Hey, you should come be in the band." And that didn't. Long story short, that didn't pan out right.
Funny how
But
that works.
We were playing music, we were playing Paramore and stuff like that, and we did a band, like a tribute band in rock school in high school. And I think, what was it? Motley Crue that we did?
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, with
Yeah, I
a-
remember that.
Yeah, with Adar, I think his name was.
Adar? Was it Adar?
Shout out Adar.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout
Okay,
out to
yeah.
Adar if you're listening to this. I don't know if you are.
So we did Motley Crue, and we were supposed to come up with a band name, an original band name, to make a website and be like, "Hey, we're an actual band. Hire us." That was kind of the project of that class.
Mhm.
And I came up with the name Chronic Amity with the help of my brother Jeff, because he liked the word chronic. But we were unaware of what that word actually meant.
Yeah.
So our teacher's going through the list of bands, and he comes up with Chronic Amity. Nope, not happening. Not gonna fly.
I forgot about that. I forgot that he looked at it and he was like, "What what is this? And we're just like, we're like grade 9, just like, we thought it was okay.
Yeah, it's just a cool sounding word.
I think at this point it's probably also important to note in context, because now we're talking about high school.
Yes.
Yes.
So we haven't talked about what we did in high school, which for me, Brayson and Miles, was actually very similar to middle school. So
Yes.
Brayson, while you're on the topic, would you maybe want to expand on that?
Are you talking about rock school?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just did.
No, but you just kind of just went into it. Like no one has context. Like we didn't know. Like we never mentioned
okay.
it.
Okay. Well, it was the high school version of what we did in middle school.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead, Brayson.
Yeah, it was just it was a class, an actual class that you're graded on, and you just get together with some other musicians, form a band, learn your songs, pretend you're a real band, have all your promotional material, website, everything, and then at the end of the year, you perform in front of whatever 500 people in the theater, and you sell the tickets, and it's like being a real band and hustling for yourself.
We were very lucky to be able to have that as an avenue for us. Cause like, honestly, like I can pretty confidently say that I don't know if we would still be a band if we would even have been a band in the first place if it wasn't for those programs we had. So very grateful for those programs and the teachers, Mr. Sanis, Mr. Erickson for middle school as well. Eternally grateful.
Absolutely.
So high school was for Austin and I, we started in 2009, and then for the other two would have been 2010, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we started in rock school, and that's sort of where I joined the picture.
Mm-hmm.
We played in a Soundgarden tribute band.
Yes.
Called Back to the Garden. It was the four of us and our friend Olivia who sang, and that would have been 2010, right?
Yeah.
I think, or like, your first.
No,
Or 2000, maybe like early 2011.
Yeah.
But like grade 9 and 10, I think.
I think we
was,
were in grade 11.
10, 11. 10, 11.
10, 11
Yeah.
for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first introduction to these guys. I was a random guitar player in class. They needed a guitar player. I think we kind of knew each other. Austin and I had done a musical, or were in a musical at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of how I got introduced to them. That was my first show with what would later become Royal Oak. But I didn't know it at the time. But you guys had a band at that time.
Yes.
But it wasn't Royal Oak.
No.
It wasn't Royal Oak. Austin, do you want to take this one?
Sure. It became Royal Oak. We should clarify that. Like it kind of slowly morphed into Royal Oak over time. But at that point, once we got into high school, Brayson, Miles, and I just decided, well, let's just do it. Let's become a band. Let's write some goddamn music. So we did. We were a rock band to start off, like kind of like a funk bluesy rock thing, it was a good time. We were called The Reprise. You might be able to find that music probably somewhere else. Definitely on YouTube, but maybe somewhere else. Bandcamp too?
Bandcamp?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Bandcamp. Yeah, just look for something teal and you'll find it, because our EP color was entirely teal. But yeah, so that's really kind of I think that's really the true start of Royal Oak right there, was as The Reprise, because we wrote and recorded an EP. We recorded with our friend Hamilton Chalowski back when he was still in audio school, and we played a lot of local shows. As
like
The Reprise.
I remember seeing you guys at like a car show.
Mm-hmm.
You played at like a hockey rink for some reason.
Yep.
Right?
Mayday Parade.
The Mayday Parade. Yeah.
Yeah, we did a lot of like car shows, Mayday parades. We even did a local festival in Port Moody, which is like a nearby city to where we live, called Golden Spike Days. Basically we just kind of were just kind of chugging around the local scene, impressing hockey dads and wine moms alike.
Oh yeah,
but
it was a huge demand.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun though, and I think that's really the point where we started to really kind of hone our skills and like chops as performers. Because at that point, rock school was a very good start and a very good like lift off point from where we were in high school. But at that point, that really gave us the chance to apply what we were learning and what we were doing in that class in real life. And to have the opportunity to do it at such a young age was really great, because at that point it's like we booked our own shows. We actually made merch, which you might potentially find in a Value Village.
Yeah. Value Village.
Because we gave all our old shirts to Value Village once we became Royal Oak. And the recording process, and that basically really kind of kickstarted, what we know and what we do. And I think we released that EP in
2013, I think would have been
2013.
So my understanding is that Reprise started like 2010-ish, and then the EP was released 2013. So you did 5 songs, right?
Yeah.
And it was pretty good. Like I wasn't in the band, but I remember listening to it, and it was very cool to have like, the band that we all go to high school with was like recording and releasing music. Like people would go to your shows and stuff. Like it was like, it was kind of a cool thing. Like I'm sure every high school has their bands and stuff, but I don't think they have quite the same platform as a band would have had at our high school.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like you had a whole program of kids who were like into music and that kind of thing and would like really follow you along.
It was
So that was
cool.
neat.
Yeah, I really think that like the whole rock school program that we had in high school really gave any bands that came from it a bit more of like additional clout, I'll say.
Not even clout, but like just a leg up. Like we literally played music every day in high school.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Like there aren't a lot of people that probably get that chance. So
now we just sit in front of microphones and
Yeah.
just talk.
and talk to cameras and each other.
Look at how far we've come. So that takes us up to 2013. Release of the EP, and then 2014 is where the name change happens.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's where
Yes.
the Reprise becomes Royal Oak.
Yes, at the end of 2014.
The end of 2014.
Yeah, December 1st.
Yeah.
And so around that time, or I guess before that, you three had added another guitar player.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So our friend James, who's also in the rock school program with all of us, joined the band. And I know, Brayson, you were saying, when we were talking about this earlier, you said that he added, he sort of helped change the sound from dad rock.
Hugely.
Totally. He was not a dad rock kind of listener at all. He was very indie influenced. A lot of like Tokyo Police Club and stuff like that. And that kind of guitar playing, when he mixed it with us, just kind of naturally changed our sound to be more open, have more reverb, and be a bit more melodic than it was before, and softened it up a bit.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It was a neat change, and we wrote a bunch of songs, and we, like you said, we put out our first song as Royal Oak on December 1st of 2014. And that was Hazel. And that was like a huge departure from what we were doing before.
Yeah,
Ginormous.
definitely. I remember like when we had started writing like with James, it was kind of like, like we don't have to write rock music. Like we don't have to write dad rock music. Like I remember when we were like writing it, I was just like, wow, like this is so much more interesting, and there's so many more accents and like dynamics to this type of music. And it was very interesting to go from that, we're gonna like start a band, it's gonna be rock music, and then just to kind of be introduced to that other world and be like, this is more our alley, or more up our alley rather.
Yeah.
I remember kind of like watching that change happen too, because you guys would rehearse in the music room like over lunch. And that's just kind of where we all hung out. And I remember like slowly hearing the change of the sound, and the reverb got longer, and the
and the tempos got slower.
And it was, you had this very like Kings of Leon kind of vibe. It was like very in at the time, but it was cool to watch, like especially thinking about it now, thinking back on it and like watching that transition happen.
Yeah. And I remember there being like a few songs that we wrote and didn't end up doing anything with, that were still had that rock kind of vibe. But then it would open up into like a more reverby, more emotional part. and it would be kind of our bridge between our two styles, especially when we were still playing shows, because we would still play our old songs and our new songs.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. Are you talking about like Ambido, like the song
Ambido, Lonely Days.
Yeah.
Lonely Days?
Oh.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was
Spirit
that one-
Girl?
I forgot about that one.
Spirit Girl, yeah.
Spirit Girl. Yeah, that one was actually pre-James.
Yes.
That one
Yeah.
was
Oh,
pre
yeah,
James. And then those were
Yeah.
all recorded at school with the help of our beloved friend Luke, who we will definitely. I mean, we probably have to do an
We're gonna
episode
dedicate a
just
whole episode.
with just on Luke, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was a weird point when it was like, oh, we have these rock songs, we have these
Mm-hmm.
other songs, these
Yeah.
alternative indie songs, but I mean, and then we just kept trucking along.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all that writing eventually became the self-titled album, Royal
Yes.
Oak,
Mhm.
by Royal Oak, which was released beginning of 2015, right?
January
Like
Day one.
1st.
Day one, baby.
Day one
Day
of
Day one.
2015.
Yeah, we thought
Um,
we were so cheeky when we did that because like the first track off that record is called Day One, and we're like, let's release it on Day One of 2015. That's so fucking cool.
Pretty
What? We
pretty
were
good for
we were kids. We were aspiring. We wanted to be
Yeah.
edgy.
I still remember the promotional video that you guys put out for the record,
Oh yeah.
and you had like stood up against that wall and put a flashlight in like a Tupperware container and like
Oh,
shone
yeah.
it across your
Yep.
faces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Forgot about
try-
that.
Yeah, we were trying to really do some cool DIY lighting and try and have some sort of like edgy like soft boy promotional material. And
Yeah.
actually, I don't think it turned out too bad.
No, it
Like-
turned
It's
out
not
pretty
bad.
good. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we also had the other promotional materials, which is that photo shoot that we did at Rocky Point in Port Moody. And
Oh, yes.
man, have we learned from that. Like we just were not we'll share the photos at some point, but like I mean, they're still on our Instagram if you scroll back far enough, but
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
not
They-
coordinated. Like we didn't know how to dress for shoots or anything. Like I remember I was
or,
wearing
like,
like
at all.
a tank top, and then we were all wearing dark pants, and Brayson had the bright khaki pants.
Khakis?
and,
Yeah.
like,
Here's the thing.
It's the photo like behind the CD if you have the first if you
Yeah.
get the
If-
first
if you have it,
album
or if
on
you can
CD.
find it.
Mhm.
But the thing is with that shoot is that it looks like 3 guys in a band and then me.
It really does. He's like standing like further apart from everyone,
Yeah.
like dressed in like a burgundy sweater.
Yeah.
It's great.
They were good photos though. They look nice.
oh, they were
Yeah.
great
Good.
photos. Shout
Yeah.
out Mel.
Mel Buenaventura.
Yeah.
Good adventure.
Maybe you're listening too. Who knows? Who knows what's listening? What's listening? Who's listening? Who knows?
What is listening?
What is listening?
What even is listening?
Who knows? Who knows? Anyways, let's get back on track.
So 2015 started off with a bang for
Yes.
Royal Oak.
Yes.
Shows, and so I guess I should mention the album was recorded with our good friend Jarrett.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
At his place, as was our follow-up record. I'm saying our because I actually recorded with that one. But yeah, the self-titled album was all self-recorded, mixed, and not mastered.
No.
Probably mastered by Brock, but everything else
Yeah.
was done by you guys and by Jarrett. And I think it turned out pretty well, all things considered. Like it's
I mean, in terms of like a DIY album, and the thing is, Jarrett was still learning all like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
where Jarrett's come now, like all the gear he's accumulated, the studio, like it was a learning curve for both of us. So I think just looking back on it, like it was like, yeah, that's respectable. Like we were both learning how to like, even like, I mean, we had recorded with Ham with the reprise stuff. Like we've had
Like
had
recording
experience with recording, but like in terms like this is where we want to really like kind of dive in, and it was all DIY. Like we weren't in like a real real studio, like a big like a Nimbus studio or like
like a big professional.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it turned out, I mean, I think it turned out really well. And we still play Hazel to this day
Yeah.
for the
Yep.
most
Yeah.
part. Like, there's some good songs on the record. I remember listening to it when it came out, and I was like, yeah. It was
It's
like
an
pretty good,
album.
and I know these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then what happened? It was 2015, probably played some shows.
yeah.
And then at some point, James left the band.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is where I come in. Because at this point, Royal Oak was very much a 2-guitar band.
Mhm.
And I remember you guys approaching me, needing a guitar player just to like fill in for a show. I think it was like July of 2015.
It was that venue, right?
It was that venue.
Yeah, it's that venue
in
nightclub.
downtown Vancouver.
It was July or
was
August?
It was like July. I think it was the end of July.
July.
Okay.
Yeah.
And because it was the big birthday bash.
Yeah.
Oh
big
yeah,
birthday
yeah,
bash.
for Clyde.
For Clyde.
Yeah.
For Clyde, one of the promoters. And that was my first show with Royal Oak, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like I can fill in for a few shows if you need me. And then all of a sudden I was just like in the band. We were talking about this a couple weeks ago. It was like, I'm sure we had a conversation where I was like, yeah, I'm gonna join the band. Let's do this. But I feel like the thing that solidified it was like Austin took a photo of me at band practice and posted it to Instagram and was like, meet our new guitar player, Mike. And that's like how it became real.
Like, oh, I guess I'm in this shit for real now.
Yeah, which, I mean, hey, I'm still here, so obviously it's worked out in some regard.
It obviously
But it
has
was, it was, it felt like a very, like, serendipitous thing that I just sort of somehow became part of Royal Oak.
Yeah, it was very natural, like very natural. Like
It was very natural.
Like I remember, like when we were talking about it, like a couple weeks ago, I said I don't remember, like you said, like if there was a specific conversation or anything happened, you just kind of, it was just like you kept playing shows, you kept coming to rehearsals, and we liked you, so it was like perfect
a
formula.
reliable musician.
Yeah. The only thing I remember in terms of like that actual changeover from you being like a fill-in guy to an actual member of the band was on our Facebook page at the time. We had you listed as Green Day 4th member.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
For a long time because you were just a fill-in guy. And then I think I remember specifically going in and like changing it and being like guitar, vocals, enter.
like an actual 4th member.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that I specifically remember doing that, but it was a cool feeling. Yeah. It's been smooth sailing.
And smooth sailing ever since.
Mm-hmm. And now here we are.
So so that was 2015. Played a couple shows. We've graduated at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was time to write another record. And that's pretty much what we did, like all of 2016. All right, end of 2015, beginning of 2016, we were like writing like crazy in Miles' basement.
We took our time.
And
that's when we started to like introduce new elements, like the synth that I play and Austin's keyboard.
SPDSX.
The SPDSX, got a lot more electronic.
Like, and like not necessarily pop yet, but less organic. And I'm a little more experimental. Like I would say the record that came out of those writing sessions, which is Younger, like fairly experimental and like quite varied. Like there's some like really organic songs, there's some really like electronic songs, some weird time signatures. Like we were very all over the place, for better or for worse.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, there was like we always had to have songs in weird time signatures. I don't know if you guys remember that, but do you guys remember how we'd just be like, oh, this would like, it just felt wrong having all of our songs in 4/4, and we were stuck in this rut of, because like on the first record, day one was 7/8, and then there was that part in Barcelona that had the weird like it was like it was a polyrhythm, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was a 3/4.
Yeah, exactly. And then with Younger, we had what was Fall Together? That was 15.
It was like
8?
It was 15. It was
15,
a bar of it was a bar of 8 and a bar of 7.
Yeah.
So technically 15.
Yeah. So speaking of experimental, I'm just kind of realizing that now that we're just so crazy with our time signatures.
I think like Austin and I were really into progressive rock in that time.
Oh yeah.
And
we
we
all had a
just loved-
prog rock phase for sure.
Definitely did, but I think Austin and I went really deep down that rabbit hole, and we like wrote a prog record at some that is just like on my hard drive somewhere.
Yeah.
We loved that. That's kind of gone now.
Yeah.
But-
yeah.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm still very much into prog, and I love trying to throw in like little weird things as often as I can.
But we're not doing it for the sake of doing it anymore.
No.
No.
Which is good.
Brayson loves doing things in threes.
Yes.
If you
I
listen
love
for
threes.
anything on any of our songs that happens in like a group of 3, it's Brayson.
Yes.
It's true.
Guaranteed.
Good
I'm
things come in
trying-
threes.
I'm trying to turn it into 5s.
That's where we put our foot down.
We'll see what happens.
But prog was we listened to all sorts of stuff, and I think it shows on that record. Because there's all sorts of stuff. Go back and listen to it, and you'll see what we're talking about. But we wrote it like over the span of probably 5-6 months, and then I went to Europe for like 3 months in 2016, and I remember us like sending demos back and forth. Like you guys were still working on stuff, and then when I came back, we went and we recorded it again at Jarrett's. Over winter, and we got a grant.
We did.
For that record, which was huge,
Yeah,
because
that was
we
huge.
were very quickly finding out how expensive it is to record and produce music.
Yeah. I think that record cost, just to be transparent here, I think that record cost about 8.
I think about $8 grand, and
It
we
was
got
about $8
we got a grant for about $3,500
Yeah.
from the BC government.
Yeah.
Which helped a lot.
Thanks, BC government. If you're listening to
out.
this.
So yeah, even though we did a lot of it ourselves, we still spent a lot of money, and most of that money was very well spent on our mix engineer, Paul Beckler, who had sort of mentored Austin at audio school. So he mixed the record, and we put it out
it was
June of 2017.
May or June, something like that. But yeah, 2017.
May or June. We put a single in like April, Take All That You Can From Me. And that was like I think it was like a first single of like, oh, here's something quite different from the first record.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we put Younger out.
I remember when we released Take All That You Can From Me, I remember that being like, we picked that song because we're like, this is like a good bridge between what we're doing with Younger and what we did with our first record.
exactly.
I remember that
It
being
was
a
like
conscious choice.
It was like
Yeah,
another one of those
totally.
things
The kind of-
when we were switching between the Reprise and Royal Oak and we needed transition songs. That was it was the same feeling. I remember playing shows and we'd play like some of the older stuff. And it was really weird, like playing these low, slow, sad pieces and then hopping into like one of our pop songs right after.
Like Been There, for example. It's
Yeah.
a very quick one, especially when we didn't play to a click. It was a very quick one.
Wasn't that, speaking of Been There, wasn't that the first song we wrote with Mike?
Yeah,
I
it
think
was,
so.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first song that we wrote for the album, other than Gates, which was sort of
Right.
We wrote
That's
that with
true.
James.
from the James era.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first song we wrote, and we ended up there's like 10 songs on that record.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And it's some of them I love some of the songs on that record. Like September is still one of my favorites.
Yeah.
We still play Aikina live a lot of the time.
Livewire. Livewire's a
Livewire,
classic.
yeah,
popular
that's true.
one.
That was like, and that's funny. I'm sure we'll talk about the records in more detail, but I remember Livewire was like a song we were recording it, and we were like, this is our least favorite song. Like maybe it won't make the record.
Yeah.
And people just really liked it, and it's been in
Yeah.
our live set ever since.
I don't think
Yeah.
we played a show without it since.
No, not since
No,
we released
definitely
it,
not.
unless it was like super. Even then, yeah.
Mhm.
And that one also has weird time signatures.
Yep.
The chorus is
7.
15 as well.
7.
Isn't it?
Is it? It's just 7. Oh, it is 15.
I think
Yeah,
it's
it is.
15.
It was
We
a
did throw
15.
another 15.
Yeah.
It is
So
15.
yeah, so we like to get crazy with it, but it flows.
Who has two?
Um,
Who has two 15/8s on one record?
I
That's
know.
so funny.
I'm just realizing that now. Like, that's
Apparently
so
we
bunch
did.
of dummies,
bunch of like
dude.
19-year-olds,
Yeah.
or whatever. I guess that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it's only 3 years
2017.
ago.
It was 3 years ago, and that was also when we did our first tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which
little small
again
guy.
I'm sure we'll get into a lot of detail about. But we booked it all ourselves. I say we, but I feel like Brayson did most of it.
Brayson
Yeah.
handled the emails. He
Yeah.
did like all the emailing to all the
Yeah.
venues and all the follow-ups. So
Yeah.
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 So that was a
Don't
quick
know.
little.
yeah.
We took a quick little jaunt through BC and Alberta. Played like 12 shows.
Yeah,
Hold
it was
on, hold
decent
on.
11
haul.
shows.
Hold on, I got.
Actually,
yeah,
I
one,
can
two, three.
I can
I
look
have-
I can look
I have
behind
our-
me on the wall.
10.
I have our
10
whole. I have
shows.
a copy of our tour poster right here. So yeah, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, correct. 10
10
shows.
shows
BC
in like
Alberta.
2 weeks. That's funny. We've all
This
got
was
our
a-
little.
I know
tour
my,
posters.
mine's right there.
This
I
was
can see
this was a
mine.
nice gift from Mike's parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a
Super
couple of years
sweet.
ago, we got both this and our pretend tour posters on a little board. So
Super cute.
Yeah.
yeah, I'll keep them
Um,
around.
Yeah, and that tour was like our first. That was our first, like, attempt at going somewhere that wasn't a hometown show. And I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
it went pretty well. We bought that big. Oh man, we're gonna have another episode about our vehicles, but big piece of shit white van called the Ship. We can't dive into it now, or else we're gonna get into too many rabbit holes.
And we'll lose an episode.
Exactly, we will.
True. Keep the content chain coming.
Yeah,
But it was definitely a learning experience. We did play some relatively empty rooms.
Mhm.
Yep.
But it just like really energized us, I think. I remember coming back being like, that was so much fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was like the coolest thing ever. It was like we all got to just drive around, and we weren't driving far, so we had a lot of like off time.
yeah.
Mhm.
It was like, what more do you want? You're like playing music every night with your best friends, and
And we had
Road
Luke with
tripping?
us too. We had
Yeah.
Luke with us to help like tear up and set down, or set down, tear up
Set
and set down,
the heck
tear
down.
up and set down. Oh, y'all know what I meant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That guy does tear up.
He does tear up. But yeah, that was a great learning experience for us. That was a lot
it
of
was,
fun.
and I think like it really pumped us up, and that's when we got back. I think that's when we really started to take things seriously, because we came back and we were like, oh, we need to keep this momentum going after this tour, and we need to just get right back into it. Like, we don't want to be another 2-3 years between records. We want to be releasing music like ASAP. So we went hard in the paint, writing, and
Oh, yes.
like I think we wrote the 5 songs for what eventually became the Pretend EP in like 3 months.
It was quick. I
Like
remember
3-4
like
months.
I remember writing them and just being like, wow. Like we just
Yeah.
like we were just coming out with stuff like I don't
Yeah.
like I can't remember exactly how the process was. I mean, I guess it was the same thing where we just came and we would just jam until
Yeah.
something came out of it, and that's how we did it. And we got like
Yeah.
5 songs out of it in 3 months.
Yeah.
because we came back from tour mid-July, and we were in the studio in like November, like December probably.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Late December.
Right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we recorded that at Echo Plant, which is a local studio in our hometown. And that was like really like our first experience with like a big professional studio. We did
Mhm.
record drums for Younger at Blue Light.
Afterlife.
Afterlife.
Or
yeah.
Afterlife Studios. Sorry, we did record drums for Younger at Afterlife.
Mhm.
But that was like we did the whole record in a studio, which was very expensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
But worth it. Like I'm so proud of that EP. It's like I think the songs
Oh,
on it
yeah.
are killer.
Same.
They're all
Mhm.
part of our live show repertoire. Like
Mhm.
And that was like, I mean, talk about like our like kind
Our
of like our
glow up?
transition and like our evolution like that. I feel like Pretend is where we released it and it was like
This is who we are.
Yes, like
Yeah.
this makes sense, you know, like this feels right. And like I remember just playing it live, like just the energy we would play with, like even Austin, like your performance just completely changed with that EP. Like you were like you were running around more, like wireless mic, you were playing a
Yeah.
lot more keys. So like our live show changed, like our writing style changed. And obviously for the better, because I mean that's kind of the path we've been continuing to go down, for lack of a
Yeah.
better term, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, with that EP, I mean, with Younger, I kept my keyboard off to the side, but then once we released Pretend, my keyboard went to the center. Like, I meant business.
Right.
yeah, And and you can definitely hear it when you listen to it again. Like they're very keys heavy. We put out
Solid-
Tell Me.
Solid
Tell Me
keyboard
was-
in front of you sounds.
Yeah, that keyboard was right in front of you. And it was we put out Tell Me, it was a single, and then we put the record out in like July of 2018. And that took us on our first Canadian tour. We went all the way to Montreal and back and played like almost 20 shows or something like that. Like
Yeah.
Brayson, pull out the board, count it.
Yeah.
Point out the board.
Pull up the board.
1, 2.
Your mic came
it was
undone
like
again,
14.
I think.
Like 14 shows. Maybe not. 20 was a bit
13.
aggressive. 13 shows.
13.
All right.
13.
But
Okay.
you know, I mean, again, that was a learning experience for us going across Canada. And once again, we'll talk more about that tour and the van that took us barely across the country.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, but I mean, that was a huge moment for us as well, because I mean, yes, of course, we've been friends for so long, but that was like the first real like taste of kind of like being with each other all the time, cramped in a shitty van, driving long periods, like dealing, like going through adversity. Like it was a really good like life lesson for us as well, and like just kind of showed how well we can work together, you know. Like that's one thing I took away from it for sure.
I think it really proved that like not only just the band, but like our friendship can cut the mustard too, you know what I mean? Like it really kind of I think it solidified where we're like, okay, so we won't kill each other if we did something longer than this.
Yeah.
So that's good news.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah, this got super wholesome.
I love you guys.
We love
Not
you
save
too.
that to the end.
Like it's true. Like I think that's what makes it so much fun, and like it's so easy to hop in a smelly van for a month and just like tour around. Like we're homies.
Yeah, and not even just like a regular like the thing is, a lot of people are listening, they're probably like, oh, a tour van. You know, like, oh, they have bench seats.
No.
We had one bench seat.
It was a Ford Windstar.
Yeah. The minivan era. We
With
did two
back seats taken out.
Yeah.
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 We did two Canadian tours in that minivan.
And it failed us both. In multiple
it got the
different
job
ways.
done.
More on that later.
Yeah. So our third tour, which I just mentioned, was on the back of really one single that we'd released, but we had 3 singles sort of queued up for 2019. We're getting close to the present now. We came back from our first Canadian tour, went back to Echo Plant again pretty quick with 3 new songs. We had White Lies, we had Everything, and we had All the Things You Said That You Had Ever Wanted. Not in that order, but those are our 3 most recent songs.
Once again, sorry, we forgot to mention, once again working with Matt DiPomponio and Ryan Worsley of Echo Plant, who have done well by us. We love their work.
It was just kind of like we were like, oh, this worked. Let's just do it again as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So we had such a good experience doing Pretend that we went right back there. Put out White Lies in like May of 2019. A music video done, and then we did our third tour with Chersey, who is another artist from the area, super good friend of ours. She featured on our song Mistakes from our Pretend EP, and we didn't really know her well at all when she did that.
No.
But then Brayson started playing with her, doing some session stuff, and so we toured together. We got a grant for that tour, which really made things easy for us, and then that was a really cool tour. We like filmed a music video. We played more shows in that month than we ever had. We had some good shows.
And another thing with the cross Canada tours is just like, I mean, even same with the Western Canadian tour, but like just the amount of people we were able to meet and like the relationships we were able to like build with other bands. Like, because we had to book like for the most part, like 2 other bands, like was usually what it was
per city.
So we were always meeting all these people, and then that was also like a great learning experience for us as a band. I think I said learning experience like 6 times throughout this episode.
You're not wrong though.
I know, but right, like it was just like being able to meet all those people, and then also like having the family and friends that allowed us to stay with them. Like Just great.
Huge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. I think
Yeah.
we'll wrap up this episode of our history with now pretty much we're recording this at the end of 2020, a glorious year for none.
Yeah.
Um, We started the year off, we put out Everything. It was our most recent single
Mhm.
in like end of February.
Yeah.
What a naive time, the end of
Yeah,
February
the end.
2020.
Like literally, it was a
like
leap year, and
literally-
we did it on the leap year day. On the leap
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And
Which
then
is
like
Not a good idea.
2
but-
weeks later, borders closed from COVID.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Crazy times. And so we have really not, I shouldn't say we haven't been doing very much now, but I would say like this section of the Royal Oak history book is not as full as some of the others. Obviously, no
Not-
tours.
Yeah. Not as full,
No,
but
you
I
know.
mean, but we also, I mean, we did those video covers, which was good, right? We we released 3 video covers. I feel like it was a lot of time for us to like, kind of like, reflect, kind of like take a year off from touring, right? Like you're
Yeah,
saying,
and I
like,
think that was like when I look back at this history, we've really been go since we were like recording younger, pretty much since I joined the band.
Mhm.
In a way, like we wrote younger, and then we recorded it, and then we toured, and then we wrote like, and it's that never ending cycle that you like can't really break out of. So like, yeah, we've been doing a lot of writing during this time, and we've taken it as a time to like reevaluate and plan and all this stuff. But it's been nice to just chill.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean,
been
I
nice
think
to,
yeah, as shitty as the year was, like the world definitely needed a break, and that including Royal Oak. I mean, not like a break, like not like a break is like, oh, we're going on a hiatus, but like we still did like our covers. We did like the Adore You cover, we did John Mayer cover, the Super Lonely
Yeah.
cover. So like we still wanted to keep things going, but it was like it was also a good lesson. Didn't use learning experience that time because we had to adapt to not having shows that we could plan for, right? So
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I mean, I think the biggest thing that we've gotten out of this record is, like what you guys were saying, how we've had the chance to just kind of like chill. It's really allowed us to kind of focus in on and write a new record in a way that we half have been wanting to and half we're also kind of forced to. So, in a way.
As
So
in not all in the same room.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would say it's been nice to not feel like we have a deadline. That being said, we are still making personal deadlines for ourselves, but like it's nice not to feel like we have to tour this year or we have to put out an album this year, and we can just work on ourselves. And we have been working on our music a lot. Like I would say it's the hardest we've worked on our music.
hands down, like the most
Mhm.
like thought has been put into these writing sessions, I think.
Yeah.
Like like it's very like a lot of pushback, like which like healthy conflict, like, oh, like that sounds like shit, we shouldn't do that, let's try this. Oh, like that sort of thing. Like it's really been fun to go through that process. I think we've finally kind of nailed down something that works. And I mean, not finally nailed down something. It's just a different aspect that's really working well.
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess to put a little bit of a timestamp on it, at this point we have what, 10 songs written for the
10
new record?
songs.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone, for people who are wondering, when's it going to be Royal Oak season again? That's where we're at. I'm putting a timestamp on it. End of 2020, we're at about 10 demos or so.
Yes.
Like 10 actual songs.
Maybe 9 and 2 halves.
But
That
never
that
mind.
still
Okay.
makes 10.
Yeah, that's
No, I see what he means though, because he's being like 2 half songs.
2 halves. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, a whole?
Yeah, no, I had to think about that for a second too.
But we're regardless, we're writing and we're podcasting, and this is something else that's new.
Mhm.
And that brings us to this very moment.
Yep.
That was 20 years of the history of Royal Oak and our friendship.
That was fun. I mean, we have
This
never,
is a lot of
I
fun.
was saying before we started the recording, we have never really like looked back and kind of like seen where we come from. So I really enjoyed this conversation. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was really quite the retrospective on not necessarily even the band's history, but just like our history as friends. Because I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of like band members can be like, oh yeah, like we're homies, like we have good times. We met on Craigslist 3 years ago, but we cool. It's like we actually go back so far, and our friendship actually has so many layers to it. And I think yeah, it's really cool to just it's really cool to reflect on like a good positive feeling at the end of a year that has, been very overwhelmingly negative. So I'm happy that we did this episode, and I think this is going to put at least like, a nice little cherry on top of the shit Sunday. But
What
yeah,
shit
I don't
Sunday?
know. 2020 is the shit Sunday.
Oh.
This
Band name.
conversation is the cherry on the 2020 shit Sunday. I wish I could have used like a better metaphor for that, but
We're going with it. We're going with it.
Hey, it's fine.
we're live, baby. We're live. This is it.
But yeah, 20 years. Like
Basically,
think about
right?
that.
Like
Mhm.
what that you guys have known each other.
Yeah.
And even like 10 since I've known you all. So
Oh yeah.
pretty crazy. And we've got a lot more coming. We've got a lot more in store, both as a band and this podcast. So I think we'll wrap it up there. We'll,
Yeah.
we've
Mhm.
I think we've arrived at the end.
we've arrived
We have absolutely
at the
arrived.
end. So thank you for listening. And now that you've got some more context about who we are and what we've been up to, we can get into some more nitty gritty details in the next couple episodes. We're gonna talk all things band
Oh yeah.
chat.
It's going to involve some stories, some educational stuff, like talking the booking stuff we talked about, and then also some of the touring stuff, some of the stories behind that. So stick around. It's going to be a lot of
We're
fun.
gonna go into everything. But for now, definitely follow us on all social media. We will put it in the show notes. There's also gonna be pictures of feet in the show notes based on our past conversations. So lots to look forward to. Check it out, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.